it for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K,
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. Bittt. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Matt Ohayon on this Friday evening, the Hebrew Hammer. It is the Sick Podcast. Very excited because whenever I hear that intro song, that means my weekend has started. This week, though, it means my vacation has started. That's right. I am off my regular day job until August 15th. Just a short 8 days, but hey, you know what? I'll take it. Eight days from Monday, I should say. So I will take it. The Sick Podcast brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, who have recently been named by Deloitte and CIBC as one of Canada's best managed companies, the country's leading business award recognizing innovative and world-class companies. The best managed Canadian companies designation fuels Energy's purpose of creating progress for our customers, our employees, and our communities. Join a winning team and check out Energy's career page for available opportunities. And experience the renowned poker experience with free food and drinks and their cash game tables and a bad beat jackpot that is already over $700,000 at Playground. $2,590,000 was won on August 2nd. Weekly promotions, daily tournaments, and unmatched customer service. Why play anywhere else? Located just over the Mercier Bridge, just minutes away from downtown Montreal. Playground. Also brought to you by Bittt at Tibi, brewed in Quebec and a winner of a dozen international awards. Bittt at Tibi offers quality microbrewery beers made with premium ingredients for everyone's taste. Bittt at Tibi, embrace your true nature. And by Murphy Clinic, who are an aesthetic clinic specializing in medical aesthetic care. They offer permanent laser hair removal as well as a wide range of treatments for I just scrolled too far, for skin problems such as acne, rosacea, fine lines, and more. They currently have two clinics, one located in Montreal's Shop Angus, and the second one on the North Shore in Terrebonne. They also have one opening soon in Quebec City. Visit murphyclinic.ca or on Instagram at Murphy Clinic. All right, just a quick few life updates. I'm very excited for this upcoming week, not only because it's my vacation, but festival season in Montreal is upon us. So if you are going to be at Oceaga Sunday and you see me, don't be shy. Come up to me and say hi. We could chat Habs for about 5 minutes before I want to get back to the music. If you're going to be at Guns N' Roses on Tuesday, come and say hi, but don't keep the chatter too long. I want to rock out and headbang to some good old Appetite for Destruction classics and Metallica on Friday. If you see me at Metallica on Friday, come up and say hi. But Metallica is my favorite band, so I probably will shoo you away if the conversation lasts a little bit too long. And of course, now, for those of you that know me, I will be at Il Sonique on Saturday and Sunday. So very, very busy week for myself. I don't know how busy it's going to be for this guy. He's our guest, as he usually is on Friday nights. Stu Cowan of the Montreal Gazette. Stu, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm actually just wrapping up my first part of my vacation, back to work next Monday, but it sounds like you got things pretty well planned out for yourself there next week.
Oh, I'm very, very excited. It's funny. I was actually I try to conserve days off at work for some reason, as if I'm not supposed to use them. So I originally had only taken Monday, Wednesday, and Friday off, and then my boss was like, I took a look at your schedule, and you got no deliverables next week. You're really going to sit in front of your computer for 8 hours for 2 days and just not do anything? And I was like, that is a very good point. I will take those days off and just not sit in front of my computer, enjoy the outdoors. So I don't know how you are with vacation. I'm very, very finicky with vacation like that.
Use your vacation days. That's the thing. We work hard enough to get them, so make the most of them. Everybody needs a break now and again.
Well, that's it. Two players have been making the most of their vacations this summer. Well, among many. One of them was in the news today. I just actually saw this headline. I literally Googled Canadians just trying to get to their cap friendly page, and I saw Rem Pitlick just proposed to his girlfriend. So congratulations to him. And another one was Alex Newhook, who has being acclimated kind of to a new city. Hasn't spent much time in the city over the summer, but looks like he's fired up to be a Montreal Canadian.
Yeah, it's a summer of love actually for the Canadians. Brendan Gallagher got engaged. Josh Anderson got engaged. Now you got Rem Pitlick getting engaged. It seems to be the thing this summer. And yeah, with Newhook, he got his first tour of the Bell Center Canadians locker room on Monday. The Canadians had something up on their website. It's interesting because you had to choose a number. And because of all the retired numbers the Canadians have, it made it a little bit difficult. He ended up taking number 15, but I think he had worn number 18 and 19 before, and they're both retired, obviously. And so he ended up with number 15, which, if I'm not mistaken, was Jesperi Kotkaniemi's old number.
There you go. I was actually just about to say pop quiz, who was the last person to wear 15 in Montreal.
Well,
but
here's another trivia question. He's going to be the fifth Newfoundlander to play for the Canadians.
Michael Ryder was one of them.
Michael Ryder's at the top. Yeah, that's the easy one. The other ones are a little bit more difficult. One of them wrote a book. Give you a hint.
Book. I'm really bad with these things because it's funny. The
Terry
only
Ryan.
one.
Terry Ryan.
Terry Ryan. Okay, because I've only read one book by someone a part of the Montreal Canadiens organization, and it was in French. It was Jacques Demers' book. Okay. I read that a while ago.
Terry Ryan's book was something about a first round bust, or I can't remember the exact title of the book. The other two are Darren Langdon and Brad Brown.
We could have been on this podcast for 4 hours.
Yeah.
You could have given me 20 million hints, and I
didn't know that off the top of my head. I saw the Canadians posted on their the story that on their website that he's going to be the fifth Newfoundlander to play for the Canadians. They didn't say who the other four were, so I did a quick search through the data of Hockey DB to find out, and those were the other four guys.
Well, you know what? Speaking of pop quizzes and just general hockey knowledge, have you delved into this puck doku craze that's been taking over Twitter?
I haven't, but my son, who's 22, is into it big time. He was showing it to me the other day. It looks pretty cool. He's hooked on it. I know. I imagine a lot of people in his age group are also.
Yeah, it's super, super fun. I encourage anyone who's listening to check that out. Daily new Sudoku 3x3 square where you have crossover teams. And at the end, it'll usually be like this player also scored 50 goals for this team. Very, very fun. The lower the uniqueness score, the better. That's what you're going for. Because like today, there was Calgary Flames and Olympian, like an Olympic gold medalist. Yeah. Obviously, Jerome McGinley right off the top of the head. Well, you would have gotten a pretty high score because 68% of people answered that. So,
yeah, my son's very, very fun and all that stuff, and he's all over that. He was showing it to me actually this morning.
Yeah, just as yesterday for our viewers that already do play, yesterday was my best score ever. I got a 44, and this could go all the way up to like 1,000. One of my answers, it was a cross between someone who played for St. Louis and Pittsburgh. Marc Bergevin. That one was loaded in the back of the head.
Yeah, well, you mentioned about Newhook, though, coming back to Montreal. It looks like a lot of the guys are coming into town around now, the ones who haven't already been here. Suzuki's been here. Caden Gooley's been here most of the summer. Slavkovsky's coming into town soon from what I've seen on social media. So I imagine these guys will start skating together pretty soon in Brossard. So it's coming. Summer's coming to an end pretty quick, unfortunately. We're about a month away from the Canadiens golf tournament, which will kick everything off. But I think they'll have a fairly sizable group starting to skate pretty soon in Brossard. And we'll get more and more players, obviously, as we get closer to the golf tournament. More guys start arriving in town.
You know what I mentioned, speaking of guys coming to town, I mentioned it off the top of the show. I'm excited for festival season. I'm sure a lot of the players are too, because that could be a good way, there's not many new guys coming in, but it's a good icebreaker, like Suzuki. I know he loves the Lasso Festival. He
I'll
says
be going to that also.
well, there you go. So maybe you'll be part of the welcoming committee for some of the new players, because I feel like that would be a great team bonding thing. Hey, me and a couple of the guys we're really into country music. Why don't you come out with us to the festival? And we got the VIP experience. We'll be well taken care of, so don't worry about having to bump into anyone. I feel like that would be good for some of the players.
It would be. Well, the NHLPA website did a story on Newhook because we're in town playing in that 3-on-3 tournament that was going on. And he was talking about how he couldn't believe how many of the players on the Canadiens had reached out to him on social media or whatnot just to say hi and welcome him to Montreal. And I think we spoke about this on previous podcasts. This is sort of part of Kent Hughes' master plan, is getting all these guys who are around the same age group, 21, 22, 23, 24, and having them grow up together on and off the ice. And this is just another example of it, of Newhook being welcomed by all these guys coming into the city, start looking around to find a place to live, et cetera, et cetera. But once they start skating together in Brossard, just getting to know the guys, getting to know the Brossard practice facility a little better, getting to know some nice restaurants to go to, all that kind of stuff. So it's, as I've said before, it's sort of like a brotherhood that this Canadiens team is becoming, with all these guys around the same age group. And I think he's a good addition to it.
Yeah, you know what? I'm very excited to see what's to come from this player specifically, Alex Newhook. I'll be honest. When the Canadiens got him, didn't know much about him, and I don't know much about him. I haven't looked at any of his. I haven't done any of my own scouting. I haven't read much about him, but what I'm reading purely is just, this is another Kirby Doc reclamation project 2.0. This guy was drafted one slot ahead of Cole Caulfield. So that there's talent there. And he's just another very, very young forward, 22 years old. That was, I don't want to say given up on by the Colorado Avalanche, but it's just, he couldn't crack the roster. He was the odd man out. It's going to happen to the Canadiens eventually on the defensive side.
Well, he's going to get every opportunity to shine here. I mean, he's going to be in a top 6 role guaranteed to start the season at least. 16th overall pick. You obviously have talent, right? You don't get picked 16th overall unless you're a really talented hockey player. And sometimes, as Marty St. Louis said, it's just finding a chair that you fit into with the team. And it was harder to find that chair with Colorado, a veteran team with a lot of experience, looking to win the Stanley Cup while the Canadiens are still rebuilding. So he's going to have every opportunity here. Marty St. Louis will use him to top 6. He'll be on the power play. He'll probably kill penalties. He's going to get tons of ice time. So it's up to him now to make the most of it. A lot of times that's just what it takes. It just takes a chance and a coach to believe in you. And Kirby Doc's an example of that. And Cole Caulfield is the ultimate example of that, who, with Dominic Ducharme, he couldn't do anything. And all of a sudden, Marty St. Louis comes in and Cole Caulfield starts scoring goals like crazy. And, as Marty St. Louis has said, I can't teach Cole Caulfield how to score goals, but I can help him get him into better positions where he can score goals. And I think that's something that's going to happen also with Alex Newhook. I mean, when he played in the BC Junior Hockey League, he put up some incredible numbers, was the league MVP, led the league in scoring. He went there instead of major junior because he wanted to keep his NCAA eligibility. But he's a kid. He left home at 14. The caliber of hockey in Newfoundland just wasn't good enough for you have to go elsewhere. So that makes you mature pretty quickly when you leave home that young. He went and played at St. Mary's College just outside of Toronto, and then played in the NCAA. But I think it's sort of, this team is a perfect fit for a young guy like him, the same way it was for Kirby Doc. And I think Marty St. Louis is the perfect coach for these guys. He's going to come here. He's going to have less pressure on him as far as playing afraid to make mistakes. Marty St. Louis will let him make mistakes and learn from them. And as I said earlier, he's going to be around a bunch of guys around the same age, similar interests, similar points in their lives. I think it's a really good fit for him.
And here's another nugget of information that I actually had forgotten to mention when the Canadiens had acquired him. Now, I'm not an insider. I just have a friend who used to be an intern in the hockey operations department of the Canadiens. He had a little more experience than what they were looking for. He was actually overqualified for the job, so they actually gave him a pretty important job. This was the year that Cole Caulfield was drafted. His job was to take from the top 30 prospects based off of the Canadiens draft board, put together highlight packages for the front office staff that didn't have time to scout these players to look at. obviously they were not expecting to be drafting Cole Caulfield. That he told me straight up. But what he did tell me was, when I said, I know you can't tell me much, but who are players that, you know, are looking to fall in this realm? Like, give me like 5 that like the Canadians, you know, would be excited to get. And one of the players he mentioned was Alex Newhook. So there you go. Like, the Canadians were already looking at him, be it was a different regime, but he was already on their radar in the draft year. And, you know, this, again, I'm all for these reclamation projects. The problem with them is that we have short memories. So we remember Kirby Dach. Now, my fear is that, you know, is it fair to expect the same level of, you know, production? I don't want to say dominance, but, you know, Kirby Dach did look dominant at times on the ice. Like, is that now the benchmark, the baseline for these reclamation projects to be coming to the Canadians?
Well, I mean, you know, talk a reclamation product. His kid's 22 years old too. I think people forget that.
Yeah.
He's not like he's some Jonathan Drouin, some 28-year-old guy coming, or 27-year-old guy going on a new team. He's 22 years old. He scored 14 goals last season in a limited role with Colorado. So I mean, it's not outrageous to think he might be able to score 20 this season with the Canadians if he gets power play time and he gets more time and playing in a top 6 role. So Marty St. Louis, every player that comes here and progresses the way they have is sort of another feather in St. Louis' cap. So, you know, Cole Caulfield, as I said, was number 1, Kirby Dach number 2. There's other players that he's helped along that have come in and played good roles. He's helped Nick Suzuki along. I don't see any reason why he won't help Alex Newhook. I think Marty St. Louis is he sees the game. I mean, I'm going to speak with Josh Anderson about him and Joel Edmondson. So you got a forward and a defenseman. They're both talking about just how Marty sees the game so differently. Like he sees things that these guys don't see as far as teaching. You know, Josh Anderson was a player just up and down his wing as fast as he could, go hard to the net. And Marty St. Louis taught him to add more to his game, to sort of delay. He says he doesn't need to be going 100 miles an hour all the time. Sometimes that doesn't help you. You need to learn how to slow down and find holes and get open and change pace of speed. And these are all the things that Marty St. Louis is. And Marty St. Louis' strongest thing he has as a coach is his ability to communicate. I remember asking at one point, St. Louis, you know, where do you rank communication as far as top skills for a coach? And he said number 1. And that's what it is. And especially when you're dealing with these young guys, he's able to communicate with these guys and explain to them what he wants them to do without hitting them over the head, without screaming and yelling like old school type coaches might have done. And the guys are really listen to him and they really appreciate him. He's got that instant credibility from his Hall of Fame career, but he sees the game differently than, you know, 95% of the players who play in the NHL see it. And he's able to, you know, Wayne Gretzky saw the game differently also, but he wasn't a great coach. He didn't have the ability to communicate to the players what he wanted them to do in the same manner that Marty St. Louis does. And that's something that's really interesting when you talk with the players, and to a man, they all say the same thing. And how much how much he helps them just see the game differently. And as I said, I'm sure he'll be able to do that with Alex Newhook.
You know what? Let's dive in a little bit on Martin St. Louis, because I just find this whole story fascinating. I find the honeymoon phase fascinating because, you know, we can only judge what's there, right? When what has been done. But to me, it feels like, you know, what I really want to see, and unfortunately we're still about, you know, maybe 2-3 years away from this, is like what happens when they really need to, like, they need to make that push for the playoffs. They need to get into the playoffs, and then they need to start winning games. Because right now it's all fun and games, you know, just don't make mistakes. If you make a mistake, don't worry about it. Just don't make it again. We're going to teach you about it. Like, when does that leash get shorter? Because, you know, I don't want to jump too far ahead of the future, but I could see a situation kind of like Toronto where, you know, with Keefe, you know, the biggest thing that we were hearing is that the inmates were running the prison, you know, and I feel like that's kind of, I'm just getting hints of that with Martin St. Louis, with the way he's being described as a leader, because he didn't have many reasons to get mad last year. We've seen it happen maybe once or twice, but I'm curious to see how the players would respond to that when like the rubber meets the road and they really need to get down to business and start winning games consistently.
Well, the Leafs are going to get shorter each season. Kent Hughes spoke about that. I think it was at the mid-season mark last season where he spoke. It was either mid-season or at the end of the season. And he was saying, the pressure is going to get higher each season and different people react to pressure differently. Some handle it well, some don't. And we're going to see that as this rebuild goes forward. Some players will respond to the added pressure and some players won't. So the leash will get tighter. And I think we're a couple of years away. I mean, this year, Kent Hughes said that they'd like to make the playoffs this year, which, last season the playoffs weren't even in their thought. It was all about where they were going to draft. So they're a couple of years away, I think, from being where the pressure will be. This team should make the playoffs. And if you're in year 3, year 4 of a rebuild, you should be starting to see results. And the fact all the injuries last year that they had, the Canadiens had a pretty not good improvement in the standings point wise from the previous season when they also had a lot of injuries. So the thing I'd like to see is the Canadiens stay healthy this season so we can get a better judgment of just where they're going with this group. And the thing is, as I mentioned before, as the pressure is going to get more each season, you're going to have these guys who will come up with Marty St. Louis all around the same age group, and they're going to realize, I'm sure, as I mentioned, one of his best things is communication skills. And I'm sure when he's telling them, like, we're accepting these mistakes now, but as a couple of years from now, they're not going to be acceptable. So that's why we're letting you do them now. We want you to play. We want you to have your skills, but we're going to, he's going to start tightening the leash on the players as far as what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And at one point, we're talking about Alex Newhook playing with the Colorado Avalanche, and they don't accept mistakes there because that's a team that wants to win the Stanley Cup. So when the Canes get to that point, that's when, it won't be, you'll come back to the bench. It won't be, okay, don't worry about it. Just go back and play. But these guys will have had 2 or 3 seasons playing with the freedom to realize what they can and can't do in the NHL. And I think that's a huge thing. Just realize, I think guys, a lot of times, all these guys every guy in the NHL is a talented player and was a highly skilled player when they were a kid and best player on their team, etc. But the NHL, it's so fast. And just learning what your skill level will allow you to do and not allow you to do in the NHL. And I think that's a huge learning process for guys learning, okay, I can do this, but I can't do that. But he wants them to push the limit of their skill level and do as much as they possibly can. And then guys will realize at what point, okay, I can't try the behind the back pass, or I can't try this, or I can't do that. And they'll find the comfort zone where they can play at an elite level, but also realize the plays they can't do as well as the plays they can do.
Excuse me. Another foundation that I think is, to the positives of being 2-3 years away, just got me thinking. Word that triggered it was, behind the back pass. Excuse me again. Is that now's the time where they can build that chemistry. They could try those, no look passes to find those guys, because I kind of think of it in terms of a sense of like an offensive line in the NFL. Like I think obviously in terms of Bengals, just to draw it out easily for non-football fans, is that the Bengals last season created a new offensive line. It was a problem 2 years prior. Last year, then they said, okay, we got to get this fixed. They brought in a whole new unit. First game they go out there, and, this is a team that's supposed to be contending for a Super Bowl after the year that they made it there, and they gave up 6 sacks. And, Joe Burrow, most sacked quarterback through 3 games of the NFL season last year, and then it started to gel. This is the time where, they have years to create this chemistry. So hopefully, when the time comes to take that, that big fit, go for that big ticket free agent, or that new rookie on the blue line comes up, be it Reinbacher, Mayu, whoever it may be, they can come right into the system. They're not trying to figure out everything as a unit. Oh, who works with who? It's just, we know where we could slot him. He's right in there. This is how you're going to work. This is what to expect. And it could be a really smooth transition. So I feel like this is a pretty important year in terms of ironing out those fine details of chemistry and finding out, a part of the core, who's going to play together.
Yeah, just going back to what I was saying before too about, knowing what you can and what you can't do. Speak with Michael Pezzetta near the end of last season, and he said, before Marty St. Louis was a coach, when he would get called up to play for the Canadiens, he was basically told, get it over the red line, dump it in, chase it. They didn't want him doing anything more than that. That was it. Dump it in, chase it. And then with Marty St. Louis as coach, he started doing the same thing. And Marty St. Louis was pulling him aside and said, I don't want you to just dump it in and chase it. I want you, when you have time to make a play, to make a play. But he's obviously not going to have Michael Pezzetta, give him the same freedom to make plays once we advance in this rebuild as he's going to give Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, etc. But he wants him to play a fast skating style of hockey, and he wants guys not to be afraid to make plays. And the Canadians want to play an entertaining style of hockey. I mean, Canadians fans have got so many years where it was just a boring brand of hockey. He wants to open it up a little bit. And that even goes for the fourth liners for a guy like Pezzetta. I don't just want you to get over the red line and dump it in and chase it all the time. There's certain times when that is the right play. But when you have time to make a play, make a play. And that's he really appreciated it, because I go back to Michael Pezzetta. All these guys who played junior had offensive skills. And so he's learning also what he can and can't do in the NHL. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how it all progresses. And, I'm always, because of the expectations of, last year and now this year, it's hard not to look forward and to, project, okay. I feel like I'm one of those people that's getting impatient, let alone all the hundreds and thousands of Canadians fans out there that are like, shaking their fist, but they're still losing every game. Like, they're not good. Okay. Yeah, we know they're not good, but it's hard not to get excited when they will be good.
For Canadians fans, I think Canadians fans not only want them to be good, they want them to be entertaining. And, you pay a lot of money to go to the Bell Center. You want to be entertained. You're not going to win every game. And they're trying to build more of an entertaining brand of hockey. And that's what we've seen the Canadians last season. They were fun to watch. And Adam Nicholas is another guy, the director of player development. He's playing a key role in showing these guys what they can and what they can't do. So moving forward, it's as I said, they want to play a fast, exciting brand of hockey, and they're going to reach the point where they also obviously want to win, because in Montreal, the patience has been pretty good so far. One of the biggest problems with player development with the Canadians for years is probably their number one problem is calling guys up. Guys get called up and they get told what Michael Pezzetta was told to do. Just go over the red line, chip it in. Start top draft picks that come up, they play on the fourth line, dump it in, chase it. They weren't given the ability to show what they can do. And now Marty St. Louis is giving these guys the ability to show what they can do. And I think that's what's going to pay off as far as development for this team. You go back to Alex Newhook. He's in an environment in Colorado where there wasn't a lot of the leash was pretty tight. So now he's going to have more of a leash, and he'll be able to show more of what he can do, and he'll be able to develop his game more because of that. And that's one of the key things this Canadians management team is looking at, is player development. And that's the way you develop players, by letting them do things, letting them play with the freedom, letting them make mistakes, and then learning from their mistakes and learning what they can and can't do.
Yeah, and another huge disconnect that there was even before the team was in Laval, because now it's obviously much easier to monitor what's going on. I wonder, I don't know if this is knowledge or not. I wonder, how much does Adam Nicholas, does he spend time with Laval? Does he have staff in Laval? Does he delegate to the staff in Laval? It's very, very interesting, because, last year when they made it to the playoffs, Laval, I'm talking about, they're playing to win. They can't just, throw out all the hot shot prospects that are out there on the roster. I got to put my best players out there that are going to give me the best chance to win. So I wonder what that working relationship. Do you have any insight on?
Yeah, I'm sure Nicholas will be going back and forth between Laval and Montreal. And Rob Ramage, when he spoke with his development camp last month, was talking about how when he first came here, the cupboard was bare, as he said, as Ron Carter. There wasn't a lot of prospects, and this is the first time in a long time that the Canadian, going to Laval, there's going to be a lot of prospects there that could or should play for the Canadians the next couple of years. It hasn't been that way before. It was just like an AHL team with a bunch of guys there, and there's no real guy that, Caden Primo would be one of the guys that, okay, maybe he's going to play in the NHL, play for the Canadians, but there's not a lot of other guys. This year, they're going to have a lot of guys down there. They're probably going to have 7 rookies in the lineup. And JF Houle spoke about that at the development camp, saying that there's going to be growing pains early in the season, because it is a big jump from junior hockey or NCAA to playing professional hockey in the AHL. But again, like we're talking about the Canadians, it's going to be a young group of guys. And he said, by Christmas time, he's hoping that they'll be figuring things out. They'll figure out the league. They'll figure out the style. And JF Houle, the other thing he said that was interesting is they want to play the very similar style, or the same style in Laval as they're playing in Montreal. So when guys do get called up, it's an easier adjustment for them. But Laval is going to be interesting to watch this year, because you're going to have a lot of young guys with the potential to play for the Canadians the next couple of years there, which hasn't been the case for quite a while, just because the Canadians' development was not good at all. And now with all the cupboard's not bare anymore. They've got a lot of prospects, and all of them obviously aren't going to make it. But I think Laval's going to be a really fun team to watch this season, and it'll be interesting to watch because they're going to, as Will said, they're going to have some growing pains earlier in the season. But again, you're going to have these 7 rookies or whatever coming together and growing on and off the ice at the same time.
I'm just, my mind is racing because it's hard not to get excited about hockey. And while summer is coming to an end, we could all take solace that the hockey season is right around the corner. I know that just means busy season for you.
Yeah.
But hey,
but also for fans who haven't gone out to Laval, I mean, it's a great arena. Metro.
I was there during the
Metro. Don't drive if you're going from downtown. The Metro's fantastic. The stop's right across the street. And it's a great rink, and there's not a bad seat in it. And as I said, it'll be fun to watch Laval Rocket play this season. And it's a lot more. If you want to bring your family, it's a lot more affordable than going to the Bell Center.
Oh yeah, I went to a playoff game. The playoff game last year, I think it cost me $35 for like a pretty damn good seat. So that's and you know what?
And there's not a bad seat. There really isn't a bad seat at Place Bell. It's if you're sitting in the last row, it's still a pretty good seat.
And not only that, but also just like the atmosphere in there, it's kind of just like a party in there, and then there happens to be a hockey game going on.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of younger people there that can't afford to. A lot of families who can't afford to take their kids to the game at the Bell Center. A lot of young guys in their 20s or whatever. They've set it up really well there in Laval. So it's a fun place to go, and it's affordable. Even the concession stands, they're not cheap. Like no concession stands are cheap.
Yeah,
but they're not outrageous either.
Yeah, speaking of cheap concession, I always get so jealous. I see this in Europe all the time. It's one team in Germany, a soccer team, where they sell a 6-pack of pints for, I think it's like 10 euros. Like 6 pints, you're getting one for $12 here.
I'm old enough to remember when you used to be able to bring your own beer to the Expos games at the Big O. If you can believe that.
I can't believe that.
There was a time that would have been late 70s, early 80s. And I remember we used to have the Adidas bag with cans of beer. And one time one of my buddies brought some peanuts and they made us open the bag and they let us bring the beer, but you couldn't bring the peanuts in. So think about that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. Anyways, Stu, you enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the week. We will talk to you whenever we talk to you next. Very, very excited for that. So go out there and have yourself a great weekend.
All right. Enjoy your vacation.
Thank you very much. All right, that's just about it for me. But before Shane, our producer today, kills me, I will remind you to shop all your sports licensed lifestyle apparel, including hoodies, caps, and tees of your favorite teams from all major leagues at sportsbuffshop.com. Use code SICK10 for 10% off all their items. That's it for me. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to go enjoy myself a nice cold beer. And that's it for me. Again, we'll catch you next time.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.